Nissan doesn't buy the plug-in hybrid hype. It thinks the future is pure electric. But in the meantime, as people transition from petrol and diesels, another way is needed. That way, Nissan thinks, is e-Power. And the first car to be launched in Australia will be the Qashqai e-Power in the beginning of 2023. Let's check it out. So what's Nissan's beef with plug-in hybrids, you may ask? Well, they think they're overly complicated, really expensive, and not really suitable for people who, well, don't have a charging infrastructure. So instead, it's developed the e-Power. Now, what's e-Power, you may ask? Well, it has, under this bonnet, a combustion engine, an electric motor, an inverter, and at the back of the car, a battery pack. So far, so hybrid, you might say, and you're correct, except with the new Qashqai e-Power, there's no physical connection between the combustion engine and the front wheels. Instead, all the driving is done by an electric motor. Now, Nissan claim that this car in EV mode will allow you to do around 80% of your urban motoring on EV alone, so practically zero emissions. Better still, it claims that compared to a conventional hybrid, it's around 10% more efficient, so that's really good news for Australians. Now, what's the stats for this? 0 to 100 kilometers per hour takes around 7.5 seconds, top speed 180 kilometers per hour, because it's a single speed, remember, there's no gearbox in here, and no whining CVT. And that is one of the main draws to the Qashqai e-Power, because it drives like an EV, it drives like an electric car, which means you get maximum torque from 0 RPM. That's not actually true. You'll have to read my review to find out about that. But in most cases, this is as quiet and as refined as, as a pure electric car. Now, the important thing to know is the combustion engine acts like a generator. So when the 1.98 kilowatt hour battery is sort of depleted, combustion engine kicks in. It's also some really clever technology for the combustion engine, because instead of using any old 1.5 litre 3-cylinder turbo, Nissan has used their VCT tech in this, and that's previously something that would only be available in sort of expensive Infiniti models. What's VCT? Variable combustion technology. So it basically ensures that this petrol engine, even without the hybrid gubbins, is as thermally efficient as the most advanced diesel out there. The other fun thing Nissan engineers have done is, well, you know what, I'll demonstrate. We're in sport mode right now. Listen to what happens when I put my foot down. The engine revs rise, but they shouldn't really, should they? Because the engine has, well, nothing to do with the front wheels. But the thing is, the engineer I spoke said people hate CVTs and they hate the effect of when the revs just hang. So this car, they chose not to do that. It kind of works, it's intuitive. So we should probably talk about some of these driving modes. As standard, all Qashqai e-Powers come with 3 different distinct driving modes, and it also comes with a 1-pedal driving mode. It's called e-pedal, and I absolutely hate it. Basically, it's already available in the Leaf, and what it does is it means you only have to use the throttle pedal. So in town, as soon as you lift off, the regen is so strong, about 0.2 G, that it does all your braking for you. But in reality, it's just too jerky for me and too unpredictable, and I hate it. There's also an EV mode as well. So if you're driving through a small town, you can actually prevent the combustion engine kicking in altogether by punching this little button here. The other modes worth mentioning is there's actually an eco mode, and for me, that's the most pleasant because it kind of gets rid of all brake regen, and it means on highway, well, it's the most efficient way of doing things. Standard, well, it does exactly what it says in a tin, but hit sport mode, as we've just done now, and you get full power everywhere. So Nissan says that the Qashqai e-Power comes with a 1.9 kilowatt hour battery, and that sounds pretty small, but it does provide for a pure electric range of up to 3 kilometers, which isn't too bad. But the best thing about this technology is it just recoups that energy so quickly under braking. And speaking about the brakes, we really like the fact that you can never quite tell when it's clawing back energy under regen or if it's actually braking. So yeah, it's pretty much seamless. So on the highway, the Qashqai e-Power is reasonably refined. I mean, we're a bit disappointed. There seems to be quite a lot of tyre noise coming into the cabin at the moment, but it is fascinating to look at the one of the gauges to the left of the display here, because right now the combustion engine's running away quite merrily, But as soon as you just lift the slightest amount, it's straight into coasting mode. We're in the eco mode at the moment, which basically produces zero regen on the braking side of things. And it's quite pleasant. I think the biggest asset of the Qashqai e-Power is the fact it just drives like an EV. I think people are going to really fall for the fact that there's no transmission, there's no CVT, and the fact that the responses are so much quicker and crisper than, well, even some of the best combustion engines. So what don't we like? Well, if you look at the spec sheet, you'll find out that this car we're driving right here is 200 kilos heavier than the traditional Qashqai with a combustion engine, and that sounds awful. But engineers say, well, this is capable of delivering real-world efficiency gains. I mean, Nissan claims this car should be capable of doing around 5.3 litres per 100 kilometres, and annoyingly, earlier it was delivering 5.3 litres per 100. And then while owners of traditional EVs are obsessed with range, earlier today this thing said it had 900 kilometres until empty. That's astonishing, and remember, you never ever have to plug it in. The big question is, would you buy one of these over a traditional Toyota RAV4 hybrid? Well, do you know what? I think if you drive one, I think you'd become enamoured at the way it drives, because in all intents and purposes, it drives like an EV, but without the drawbacks of charging or range anxiety. So I think it's a win-win for somebody who's making that transition from a traditional petrol to an EV. It's the best of both worlds.